Here you are, let's go! This is the most disturbing videos on the internet today. Let's dive in.
This unusual goblet, produced in the 4th century Roman Empire, is the only complete example of its kind. Known as the lycurgus cup, it is a type of dichroic glass, which changes color based on lighting conditions. As light shines through the glass, a vibrant ruby red color emerges. However, as light shines directly onto its surface and reflects back to the viewer, the glass reveals a muted green. The ruby red color is achieved through the addition of an unlikely substance, but one with a long, rich, and luxurious history: gold. In ancient times, gold was used often in the form of gold leaf sandwiched between glass layers. However, at some point in history, it was discovered that gold salts as well as colloidal gold, when dispersed into molten glass, cooled and then reheated, brought out a brilliant ruby red. Alchemists in the 17th century were particularly vested in producing a recipe geared towards reliably achieving the satisfying ruby color. Gold ruby glass antiques produced in the 19th century and prior hold considerable value. This unusual goblet.
Wow, an Alchemist cup. I'm not really exactly getting happy vibes from this Alchemist cup. It looks like something straight from the underworld. Do I want to drink from this? No. But is it cool? Yes. Maybe if they did one with like a tree on it, maybe. Not with a man yelling, looking like he's being tortured in hell.
The ship is the largest Viking longship found in the whole world. It's 30 meters long, 6.5 meters wide, and weighs over 20 tons. And the total crew of the ship is upwards of 90 people.
I'd be damned if I'm pulling this Viking ship that's 20 tons and you standing on top. Oh, hell no. If you don't get off this thing and help.
The ship took over 3 years to construct, over 3,000 iron rivets. The ship is crewed by over 200 volunteers. The dimensions, the craftsmanship, the wood carving, the artistry, it's absolutely amazing.
I want to be the dude that's telling them to row, 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 you dirty dogs, row.
I was inside of a ship about 18 feet in diameter and roughly 10 feet high to the domed ceiling, and there were 3 men on the ship, besides the one that had got off and invited me aboard.
You keep calling them man. What do you mean man?
Well,
little green man?
They were about 5'6". They came about to my eyebrows, and they could have walked in our clothes down any of our streets, and we wouldn't have paid any attention to them.
And did you bring any proof off that ship? Were you alone in the ship?
I was alone with the 3 men until the other fellow came up behind me, and then the 4 of them were aboard.
Were there any other earthly eyewitnesses to this?
Nothing, only outside of the ship.
And these people stayed outside?
On the airport.
And did you go anywhere in this ship?
Not to my knowledge. When I got off, it was the same place it was when I got on.
Well, what do you mean, not to your knowledge? Had the door closed when you went in or something?
I don't know, because it was below the deck.
And did these people tell you where they came from?
They didn't say where they came from, but I've been in the air game since 1927, and their instruments were unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
Well, don't give me technicalities. What was different?
The difference was that we used dial instruments, and they used vertical instruments, like fluorescent tubes with marks on them.
What color were these people?
The instruments were marked in symbols similar to hieroglyphics. They were not in any language or number system we use on the Earth.
What color were these people?
They looked like they were white people with a good healthy tan.
Did they give you any indication of how old they were, or what they ate, or where they came from at all?
After we got off the ship, the man who invited me aboard, who didn't look a day over 28 years of age, told me that he was over 700 years of age in our time.
Oh, come off it, George.
That's right.
Was this the guy who gave you the formula for the time machine?
That's the man.
And what form did the formula take? Did he implant it in your mind by telepathy, or did he give you something written in English?
He spoke it to me verbally.
And you remembered this?
There's nothing to it to remember.
Will you tell me now? The formula for a time machine.
F equals 1 over T.
F equals 1 over T.
F being frequency and T being time.
And this enables me to go back to the time of Caesar's armies conquering Britain.
Well, it would enable a mathematician to work this out, yes.
And why hasn't this been acclaimed like Einstein's E equals MC squared?
Well, why hasn't the fact that the United States government's been flying anti-gravity ships since 1956 been acclaimed? Or the fact that there's a crater on the moon with a base in it since 1954, we've known this.
Oh, but
He's letting it all go, isn't he?
let's get, first of all, the U.S. Why haven't the FBI clapped you incommunicado for breaking secrets that they want to keep secret in the United States?
Well, possibly because they know this information's going to get out eventually anyway, and what I say won't make any difference.
Now, you talked about a crater on the moon. Now, I thought all the moon stuff had been debunked and that nobody ever really knows what goes on the moon. What's this?
Well, this is the Gassendi crater. This is 55 miles long and oval-shaped. It's in the Mare Humorum Sea, or on the edge of it. Since 35 years ago, they wondered why this particular crater had these lines in it. And with the magnification which you can get with the larger telescopes, this is what they found. These lines are tubes laying on the surface of this crater and running under some of the mountain ridges. There are 3 large dome-shaped structures in here. These tubes run clear outside of the crater, and we know they are tubes laying on the surface because the sun is shining from this angle, and this mountain peak causes this shadow.
But what does it all mean? Does it mean that this is a rocket launching or a flying saucer base on the moon?
This has been a base on the moon for perhaps many thousands of years, used by these people in the spaceships to resupply their ships or whatever is required.
Let's talk about this picture.
This
This is the time machine.
This is a picture of the machine we're building down there. This structure is actually up. We're working now on the parts on the equipment that operate it. This rim around here has armatures 57 feet in diameter, which will be better than 4 times bigger than the biggest armatures ever made before.
But is that the place where you did the experiments? By the way, how old were these television programs you pulled back out of time and space?
Well, the oldest one was 6 years back because television was 6 years old when this was done.
And what program was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember what program, but I know that on checking up on some of the stations that Art found that the station no longer existed. It was out of business. I was inside of a ship.
Wow, it's a historic site you can go to now. They were actually working on a time machine here. How crazy is that? Is this a real Men in Black? And he's letting everything go? Or did he make the whole thing up?
So these to me were people. I'm more like a beast, man. I was ripping people with my teeth when I was a child to survive a fight. Like that does something to you when you try to see other children playing with a Batwing toy or whatever, and you're like, you're puking in the toilet.
Yeah.
Because of all the crap you just went through the night before, you know, and like you are unrelatable to men anymore. You can't comprehend the things that are in your mind when you have been defiled so systemically for so long. And so I just lived with dogs. I literally would flee into the yards with people and I would crawl into the dog loose and just survive the night. But then that wasn't enough, man, because these were city dogs. Then I started looking for the feral ones, man. I started looking for the coyotes, you know, and then I started looking for the wolves and crawling into their dens because I can imitate any of them, man. I can crawl around like a dog and be like a
serious?
dog. You bet, man.
Wow.
You can get them to take you in if you know their language, if you know their gestures. You can learn all of this stuff, man. And like when you're little, when you're like a child, they'll treat you different, you know? Yeah. And they like, man, I literally ended up living with these things. And they're like, I have this love for wolves because of that, because I've understood what a companion can be when you're desperate and distraught. And like, these were my best friends. And that sounds so weird to people, but like when I was a child, I bonded with the animals. I wanted to murder because people were monsters. I couldn't imagine a world of the living. I got so lost in the world of the dead. And I just wanted to find some semblance of innocence and purity. And I could not find it in people because everybody was manipulating me. I was nothing but an asset to them. And I didn't know which end of me they wanted. Do they want my skills? Do they want what do they want from me? And so it perverted my understanding of people. And so I just fled to animals. And that's where like I talk to these creatures and live with them. Well, then you start encountering these other ones, you know, and you start to befriend them. and it just becomes like a pack. Well, then my family would rip me away from that and move, and I would have to try to find a new one. And there was this just constant destabilization. And so there's a lot of people that get caught in that world, man, and people brand them as feral children, like you might want to call it, or whatever you want to call it, man. But they're survivors. That's what they are, man. They're overcomers. They're the remnant. They're the leftovers of nightmares. And you know what? They're some of the most incredible people or things that have ever been. And that's why I'm here to preach the gospel to every creature. That's what it says. My commission from my king who gave me my marching orders is to preach the gospel to every creature. And that's what I'll do, man. I'll do it in the tunnels. I'll do it everywhere from the tops of the roofs to the bottom of the earth. But I'm much more familiar and comfortable down there than I am out here. This is the world of oddities where people think this stuff is like legend and myth and strangeness. And it's like you go into these families, they broker deals with this stuff. They get down with these things and they generationally raise their children to have that seed line in them.
Incredible story. I'm glad to see you made it out of that darkness.
I think they used acids. My dad's a chemist, and he told me a long time ago that there's no naturally occurring acids. But my current theory, the Inca made tons of jewelry out of fluorite. Fluorite is big in the Andes. And they also mined a lot of things for gold and silver, and the byproduct of that mining is sulfuric acid. You put sulfuric acid and fluorite together, and it's hydrofluoric acid. You really look at closely to these stones. I walk around in the alleys where these 500, to 1,000-year-old walls are still there. And I see things like the crystals in the andesite are almost stitched together along the seams. Like there's the andesite around it is melted and the crystals haven't. I think they used acid.
It's an interesting theory. They definitely fused it together using some type of ancient technology. That is definitely my thesis on it. If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. It kind of looks like mold. Like it's definitely a giant geode. Oh, and they just switch it up on us? What do we got? A copper horse saddle? Alright, let's slow it down a little bit. This geode, it kind of resembles mold until you see that it's sitting on a giant pallet weighing over 20 kgs. This name is easy. I call this one Moldy Boulder. But this one, what is the deal with this? They have a copper horse saddle? And it's like they got it stationed to the ground. I mean, it's a great piece, but it looks like you need to ride it. And I believe that's copper. If I had to name this piece, I'll call it Copper Horse Saddle.
This is titanite, which you might also know as sphene, which derives from the Greek word wedge, which is basically a gentle tip of the hat to the shape, which is very much wedge-like. Now, the term sphene, which some of you might be more familiar with, is actually progressively more and more antiquated. It's more or less been supplanted by titanite, which gets its name from the fact that it's a titanium-bearing material. It's not a particularly good titanium ore, because there are vastly better materials that we can use to extract titanium, things like ilmenite, for example. But nonetheless, that's why they call it that.
Why am I examining this wall? But is it just a wall? How about now? Let me show you the view of the gods. What is it? Yes, it's a pyramid. Am I in Egypt? Am I in India? No, this pyramid is in Thailand. And it's ancient. How ancient is it? It's more ancient than the Angkor Wat in Cambodia. It's more ancient than most of the temples in Southeast Asia. And this Great Pyramid of Thailand was lying unknown, unrecognized for many centuries until 1935. Only in 1935, it got recognized as an ancient monument. Look at its details. It rivals the pyramids in Egypt, Hindu pyramids in India and Southeast Asia, and these amazing pyramids we see in Central America. And it's huge. Each side is about 210 feet long. And even though it has been destroyed, it still stands a whopping 65 feet tall.
I wonder who tried to destroy it.
Originally, there was something on the top. What was installed at the very top? A giant crystal? Was this pyramid used as a giant tower to transmit radio signals? Was ancient Thailand very advanced? Were they using sophisticated technology? Look at the aerial view. The sides are not only the exact same size, look at the orientation of the entrances to the cardinal directions. How did they achieve this kind of precision during ancient times? And look at the entrances from the ground level.
I am shocked nobody is around. Like, if we go to the Mayan temples, you will literally see this thing surrounded. Look, all they got is a sign that says, please do not step. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you, it would be kind of hard not to go up there and see what's going on. I already done came this far. I'm in Taiwan. Let me hop this fence. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, y'all.
See how grand they are. At least 10 people can walk side by side together at any time. That's how wide each entrance is.
Look, they just printed a piece of paper. It's not even laminate. They printed a piece of paper and put it on a sign and said, please don't go up these stairs.
Look at the bricks and laterite blocks. At least 1 million blocks must have been used to build the structure. And this pyramid is shrouded in mystery.
It is. It probably was a giant crystal. Could you imagine like a giant presentation of the day sitting up there? Who knows what type of frequency you can get off a giant crystal sitting on top of an ancient pyramid structure.
Everything about this pyramid is unknown. Now, what do I mean by this, right? For example, what's the original name of this pyramid? Nobody knows. People call it Khao Klang Nok, which means the mountain on the outside, but nobody knows the original name of this pyramid. Obviously, this is not the original name of the pyramid, but there is a name, an ancient name associated with this region. Khmer? No. Angkor? No. Ayutthaya? No. It was called Dwaravati. And this name, this culture is more ancient than all the cultures I just mentioned. Dwaravati means the city with many gates in ancient Sanskrit, very similar to the city of Dwaraka, once ruled by Lord Krishna.
I mean, look at these Tartarian symbols. All these, buildings, all these different ancient buildings, they look the same. But India's is one of the most impressive. Shout out to Preen Mohan. This is a long one. So go ahead and get you something to drink, lock in and buckle up, because we're diving into this, one of the world's oldest pyramids. And it's not in Egypt and it's not in Central America.
City of Dwaraka, once ruled by Lord Krishna. But how old is this pyramid? Even by conservative estimates, it is about 1,300 years old. Yes, this is the standard timeline given by mainstream archaeologists. But it could be much, much older. Is it possible that this pyramid in Thailand was built thousands of years ago? And what religion does this pyramid belong to? Experts say this is a Buddhist monument. They compare it with the Borobudur temple in Indonesia. Was the Great Pyramid in Thailand built to honor Lord Buddha the enlightened master who still inspires 500 million people today. But did a question pop into your mind? If this is called the mountain on the outside, is there a mountain on the inside as well? If you did think of this question, you deserve a pat on your back. Yes, there is a mountain on the inside as well. Inside what? An ancient city. But I cannot walk there. I have to drive to get there. Let's go. This city is so large, we cannot walk there. We have to drive to get there. Now I'm parked on the causeway, and you can see on both sides, you can see this ancient moat. You can see the water on that side, and you can see the water on this side as well. And if you look far away there, you can see another causeway there. Now, let's go inside and see the mountain on the inside, okay? You see this? What is it? Is this a mound? Is this a destroyed pyramid? This is called Khao Klang Noi. This means the mountain on the inside. But why do they have these canopies at the base of the structure? Let's go take a look. You see this? Now, what is this? And what about this?
Oh my goodness, it is a complete mystery. The lips, I'm seeing some giant hoop rings and some big lips. I don't know if this is a dude trying to carry something on his back, but I'm seeing like a bun. This is definitely a mystery.
Here.
Yeah, these are definitely dudes holding this building on their back. It almost looks Mayan, doesn't it?
Here and here. What are they? Are they human or are they something else? And it's not just humans or humanoids. We also see animals here. You can see a lion here, and you can see a monkey here. But what are they doing? And they're shown with different facial expressions. This one is smiling, this one is in pain, and this one is angry. And what are they doing? They're bearing the load of this temple. They're bearing the weight of this entire temple using their shoulders and heads. You can see them literally holding the temple, making sure that the temple does not sink into the ground. Do these load bearers have a name? Yes, they're called Varavahakas, which literally means weight bearers or load bearers in ancient Sanskrit.
Interesting. The load bearers.
In ancient Sanskrit, the word Vara means weight and Bahaka means bearers.
I was exploring through the remote northern mountains of Peru looking for ruins and ancient rock paintings when I came across this man who lived on a farm and immediately noticed that he had green eyes. Well, that's strange. It's rare to see anything but brown eyes in Peru, especially this far out. He told me that his family is native Chachapoyan and his ancestors had always lived here on this exact same spot. Sure enough, there were pre-Columbian Chachapoyan ruins and artifacts surrounding his home. When I went back to Chachapoyas, I met more people with blue and green eyes. Apparently it's pretty common here, and there are even Spanish chroniclers that wrote about the blue-eyed people of Chachapoyas. Recently, a mask in Lima was discovered on a mummified body, and this mask curiously had blue eyes. It's a sensitive topic that usually comes along with accusations of racism in the comments, which is ridiculous because many of the native oral histories themselves tell stories that would match up with this rogue migration theory. But I actually think it's racist to just discount the many Native American oral histories that talk about fair-skinned people with light eyes. And also, there are some very interesting anomalous artifacts that can be found throughout the Americas.
That's all we have for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and the code word is Saturday vibes. Go ahead and drop Saturday vibes. If you made it this far, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way to the end of the video, and I appreciate your support. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you tomorrow.